What's up? It's your boy King Jace, the King Jace on all forums. You can find me everywhere. I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. If you're watching, thank you. Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's talk about it. If you got something to say, I want to hear it. I got something to say. You got something to say. Let's talk about it. That's the basis of the show, and I like to tell everybody what you're getting into, so you know what you're gonna watch. Tonight we're gonna be talking about my friend, my boy commented, Brian. I seen the comment about drug dealers and fentanyl and opiate addiction and all that. I would love to talk about that. My wife's going to be on. She's going to help me talk about that. Um, it's a very personal subject for me, so I definitely have something to say about it. So we're going to talk about that. Um, I wanted to talk about two kids and the way they act and the way they dress these days. The shit is crazy. I bring my son to school in the morning, and I don't know if I'm looking at kids or teachers. It's crazy. um, I don't really have any new game reviews. I played a few games. Just Cause. I played that Just Cause 4. Wasn't feeling it. Didn't like it. Wouldn't play it again. Game is trash. Sorry. I'm gonna see if I can get this question up. I'm still trying to figure out the comments on here. Alright, so let's see. Brian says, I'm just trying to bring it up, everybody. Sorry, I'm not trying to. Let's see. I can't find comments for the video, but Brian wanted to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about it. I am a recovering addict myself. Back in 2000 and I want to say 2009, I had gotten some kidney stones, and I was prescribed some Percocets, and I became addicted to them. I liked the way that it made me feel. It helped me forget all the pain in life, and it became a problem. It became a problem for me, and I did go to rehab, and when I went to rehab, they tried to give me more drugs to get rid of the drugs, but the drugs they were trying to give me, I took recreationally, so I didn't want to stay in that surrounding. I know my wife had some key things she wanted to speak on about it. We were just talking about drugs.
Okay.
I know you had some stuff you wanted to say about it. She wrote some stuff down. We want to be serious when we talk about stuff. Like when people ask us about things and to talk about things in the show, we want to talk about it, you know? And drug use in America is crazily high, and overdosing on drugs is really high, and going to jail for drugs is really high. So she got some key things. I'm gonna let her talk for a moment.
Okay. Did you talk about you already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I've been clean for like 5 years, by the way.
That's good. So I think it's only been, let's see, how many years for me? About 5 years for me too. So I got clean in the end of 2014. So I started using at like 16, 17, and then used until the end of 2014. So I used heroin, coke, and pills, like uppers. That's what I used in alcohol. So drug addiction is something that's pretty close to both of us, since both of us lived in that lifestyle for a period of time. I managed to get clean for my children, and because all of my friends were going to jail, making bad decisions, and horrible things were happening, and people that I had known had overdosed and died, and I didn't want to be. I just felt like that was going to be me in a very short period of time with the way that I was very quickly destroying my life. And so I decided that my kids were the better alternative. So I chose to be a good parent instead and got clean. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
I'm tired, don't mind me.
So I decided to look this up, and fentanyl had been mentioned. And I know that's like a number one drug issue in the United States right now. So I decided to look it up.
Fentanyl is one of the most addictive drugs out there.
Correct.
It is extremely highly addictive.
So I looked it up, and fentanyl is an opioid used for pain relief and mixed with other medications they use for anesthesia. They use it to knock people out.
Basically, it's the shit that they use when you're going for surgery and you want an anesthetic. They knock you the fuck out with it.
Right. So I looked it up, and it's 100 times stronger than a dose of morphine. And a other form of fentanyl is actually 10,000 times stronger than morphine.
So it's basically like death.
Correct. Let's see. So I looked up fentanyl, and some interesting things about that are, first of all, the population in the United States right now is 327 million people. 327 million as of February of this year. So out of that 327 million people, it says here that we have in the United States over 70,000 overdose deaths every year from drugs. 70,000 people die from a drug overdose.
I watched the documentary on this real quick. And not every single emergency personnel person is equipped with Narcan.
Correct.
It is not something that the government just hands out. It's not something that every single paramedic is equipped with. That is why we have a high rate of overdose. If we cut out the drug problem that we're having and we better equip the emergency people with Narcan and such, we would have less of an overdose rate.
Well, it's also available for people to get. People can pick it up at pharmacies and their doctor's offices, and emergency rooms are available for everybody.
Not everybody knows this. So if you know someone that does heroin or any type of drug and you're worried about them overdosing, let them be aware that they can get Narcan. Be aware that you can get Narcan.
Go to a pharmacy, ask about it.
We're not condoning you doing drugs, but we're just saying if you're worried about someone that is doing drugs,
somebody in your
and you
family
want to save their life
that you're close to, or a friend, and you're concerned about it, you can always get some.
You can get some.
As well. Anyway, so over 70,000 overdose-related deaths in the United States, and that was as of 2017. Over 20,000 of those deaths in 2016 were fentanyl-related. Over 19,000 were painkillers that were non-fentanyl, non-methadone related.
So we're talking about like just regular basic Percocets,
things like that. 15,958 were heroin related, and 14,550 were cocaine related. Might I add that 0% of that was marijuana related. As a matter of fact, there have been no fatal overdoses of marijuana ever since its conception, and I looked for a good hour today on every fact checker site and everything I could about anything negative about marijuana, and quite literally could find nothing.
It's from 300
and I even
BC.
found out that not only is there no reported fatal overdoses in any of the 2000s, it actually goes all the way back to the third millennial BC, which is 3000 BC, and nothing ever has been recorded as fatal related to a non-laced marijuana straight with nothing in it.
So stop doing crack and heroin and coke and start smoking
Don't be
weed.
mixing your fentanyl in with your weed and then go and die from it and then blame it on the weed. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, then I decided one of the things that was said was, discuss how drug abuse, including fentanyl, can ruin your life
and destroy communities.
Correct. So then I decided to look into it. Like, what are the three worst case scenarios with drug related anything. Death by overdose, incarceration, and losing your children. Those are pretty much the three worst. I mean, you're going to lose your job. You'll live on the state. You don't have a car, you'll bum around. It's whatever. But when you die, you're dead. And then your family suffers for the rest of your life, or their life, I mean. And incarceration, I mean, do I really need to explain that? So then I looked into incarceration, and I found that right now, like I said, the population of the United States is 327 million people. Out of that 327 million people as of November 24th, 2018, there are currently incarcerated 2,200. No, wait. How do I say that? I can't even say that.
That's 2,298,300 people are incarcerated right now for drug-related incidents.
That's how many people are incarcerated in general. 2,298,000 people are incarcerated in the United States. Out of that 2 million, almost 300,000 people that are currently incarcerated, 77,649 of them are drug related. That's 46% of the United States inmates. So almost half the people that are in prison right now are in prison for something drug related. So that could be anything from
crack,
having
coke,
a
heroin.
bud that's just a little too heavy in your pocket, all the way up to crack and heroin and, everything else that goes along. That would also include like murder because they were under the influence, rape due to being under the influence, things like that. So anything drug related. So there are 77,649 inmates in the United States right now that are there due to drug use of some form. So I was like, okay, so that's 77,649 people. 46% of the United States inmates for using some kind of drug, from weed to fentanyl, something. So that's pretty intense. That's literally roughly 91% of the population, according to Wikipedia, of adults. The population of adults, so over 18, are in prison right now. Anywho. So then the other thing was our children. So one of the biggest reasons that led me to stop using drugs was my sons. So I had already lost custody of them for a short period of time. And then I got myself together for another short period of time and got them back. And then moved to Massachusetts and met someone and started using again. And it was a really crappy 5 years and a lot of horrible things happened. And I remember one night being super messed up. And I was throwing up all over the place. And I look over and my kids were watching me. And I had used heroin. And so I was just vomiting and dry heaving. And it was disgusting. And I realized that my kids were an age that I have memories of. And I realized that my kids would forever remember their mother standing in the middle of the road throwing up from heroin. And that's a pretty shitty thing to realize, that your kids will forever remember that.
It's very unfortunate.
It is. And so that night was a big wake-up call for my addiction, and so I stopped. But
fortunately for me, my son wasn't born yet before I was able to kick my addiction. But unfortunately, I lost my father in the process. But due to my addiction, we found out that my dad had cancer because I stole my dad's pills. And because I stole his pills, he was in a lot of pain. He had hip problems. He was getting Percocets for his hip problems. And I was heavily addicted because of my kidney stones. And I stole his pills, and he had to go to the hospital because he was in a lot of pain. And they were like, we have to do a scan, and they did a scan, and they found out he had cancer. So it was unfortunate that I had a really bad problem, but fortunately for me and my family, I got an extra year of my dad, because if I never did that, we would have never found out he had cancer. But also, because of that, my dad gave me an ultimatum. He said, I'm going to either turn you into the police or you're going to get clean. And I chose to get clean, and I never looked back.
It's usually something pretty horrible that leads to people getting clean. It's not something that you just randomly wake up one day and decide to do. Usually it has to be a end of the road, all the way at the bottom.
I think
of a situation.
I think I was more of the fear that my dad was dying, and as my dad was dying, I was a drug addict. I didn't want my dad to die with his youngest son being, well, not his youngest son, but with my mom, his youngest son being a drug addict. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. And it was a conscious choice that I decided to make one day. I woke up and said, you know what? I do need to get clean. I don't want my dad's last memories of me being the fucking strung out loser. I wanted it to be of me clean, working towards a better future. So that was how I got clean.
That's good. So with looking at the children thing, I decided to look to see how many kids in the United States were in foster care due to their parents having drug issues. And it turns out that there's over 400,000 children in foster care in the United States, and that's for 2018. Almost 30% of the kids that are in DCYF custody right now are in custody because of a drug-related home issue. So I'm not exactly sure, because I'm not good at math, how much 30% of 400,000 is, but that's a really large number of children. And the sad part is that means that the majority of those kids, their parents are probably in prison or have overdosed and died. If you look at the percentages of prison and drug overdosed, the chances are that those kids probably don't have parents, or one of them is dead and one is in prison for drugs. So that's a pretty serious thing.
So this is our take on what we looked up, our personal experiences. No matter how you put it, drugs are bad for you, man.
It's true.
It's just a fact.
But we can tell people until they're blue in the face, and unfortunately for something like a drug addiction, absolutely nothing's going to change their mind on doing the drugs until they literally just something happens and they decide not to do them. Like, we all picked up the drugs and decided to do them. It was a choice. It's not a disease. It's not something that you're born with. It's a daily choice to wake up and grab a needle or line something up. It's a daily choice.
That is a touchy subject, because there is people out there that feel, like you're saying, like that being a drug addict is not a choice and it is a disease. Whereas some people feel that it is not a disease, it is a choice. Now, yes, you can be born with a nature that is addictive, like an addictive nature, addictive personality.
Absolutely.
You can. That is true. You can be born with an addictive personality. But you're right. It is not a disease. It can lead you to be that person that becomes addicted to drugs because you have that addictive personality. But you can become addicted to fucking anything. I could be addicted to eating paper out of this fucking notebook.
There's a lot of different forms of addiction. There's cigarettes, there's drugs, there's drinking, there's eating. Obesity absolutely is an addiction.
And for all those addictions, whether you want to admit it or not, people out there, you can choose to stop.
Right.
I could every day eat a piece of this paper.
Right.
And be like, I'm addicted. I'm addicted to it. I can't help myself. When I don't do it, I feel sick. But guess what? One day I can wake up and be like, fuck, I'm just going to not do this anymore.
Just like quitting, like I did cold turkey. I woke up one day and decided I was done, and I quit, and I never went back to using drugs again after years of using them. So if it's true that it's a disease and you can't stop doing it, then I would not have been able to wake up one day and decide I'm not using heroin or cocaine today. Same as when I quit drinking. I decided one day I was just done. It had ruined everybody I knew. My boyfriend at the time was in prison because of stupid choices made while drinking. My best friend, who was the closest person to me in the entire world, who I loved more than anybody in the entire world, she just completely tanked, destroyed her life because of drinking. And my, mother figure. She was having issues in her relationship because of drinking. Like, it's a constant thing. And I knew that I was going to be headed in that direction next. So I quit before I had the chance. Quitting smoking. I quit smoking 2.5 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. I got sick. I decided I was done. I didn't want to smoke anymore. This was ridiculous. My kids were always ragging on me. Everything always stunk. Everything tasted gross. I just was done. So I quit smoking one night. So those are all addictions, but it's been years and I've never gone back to any of them. And I'm not bragging by any means, not bragging whatsoever. I'm just saying if it was a true disease and it was something that people can't control, recovered addicts would still be using addicts, not recovering addicts. Right. So it's a choice.
And there's also like another side to that as well. Like people say, well, I've been doing this drug for this long, so there's no way I could stop. All right, well, that's bullshit because when it comes to drugs, like I was addicted to Percocets. Also, I had an opiate addiction. Yes, I used other drugs, but I had a serious addiction to opiates. But it wasn't an opiate addiction that I had for 10 to 15 to 20 years. I was addicted to opiates for like 5 years, and I recovered from that. I went to rehab. It wasn't working for me, and then I did it on my own. Mm-hmm. I got clean, and yeah, it was a short period of time. And people will say, oh, well, you didn't have a long-term addiction. Well, hold on. Because I smoked cigarettes from the age of 14 until the age of 29, I believe. 29 or 30, maybe 28. I'm 32 now, yeah, but I quit like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. So, like, I smoked cigarettes for almost 20 years, for like 20 years. So, like, for a very long time. So, an addiction to cigarettes is still an addiction. It is an addiction.
And I've heard from a lot of people, you'll see a lot of drug addicts who smoked from the time they were whatever age, through getting clean, continued smoking, and still smoke now as a recovered addict, and have said that there's no way that they could quit smoking, that quitting smoking is harder than quitting heroin, that quitting smoking is harder than quitting alcohol. I've heard that from a lot of people. So if you can quit smoking...
I felt like it was harder to kick doing opiates than it was quitting cigarettes.
I think alcohol was the hardest for me because one of the nice things about alcohol, the reason that I started using alcohol so much, and I was a heavy drinker. I would drink nips on the way to work. I would drink on my lunch break in my car. I would go back, drink all the way home, pick up my kids, go to my friend's and her husband's house. We'd drink all night. I'd go home completely blacked out and start all over the next day.
See, not me. I was a social alcoholic. I kicked that by stop being social.
Yeah. But drinking was incredibly hard because smoking, I never thought about again. I quit smoking and within a week I was fine. I was done. I was over it. Drugs, I just kept reminding myself that was difficult. That was months. And quite frankly, like it does not any longer cross my mind to do drugs, but I still have dreams about doing drugs and I still think about it. I think about that time.
I occasionally see myself smoking cigarettes here and there, but I never do.
Drinking is something I really have to keep a grip on myself over. Like, it's very hard. The nice thing about drinking is not having to feel anything. So when you're angry, you can just go drink and be funny and laugh and not think about it. When you're sad, you can drink and go to sleep. So it's a good emotional control. So when you quit drinking, all of a sudden you have to deal with all these emotions that you never had to deal with before. So I drank from roughly 17 up until a few years ago heavily. So that one was difficult.
That goes into a whole other category too, because there's like different reasons for people to be drinking. Mm-hmm. Like some people drink, like she said, to like numb the pain and to feel a different way. I can't do that shit when I'm drinking. If I'm upset when I start to drink, I'm gonna be super upset while I'm drunk. I'll be that guy at the bar crying about shit. Like, my life fucking sucks. Nobody likes me. And people be like, what is wrong with you? Well, I was mad before I got drunk, so now I'm even more mad now. Like, I'm not that guy.
I was the opposite. I would drink to get happy.
Nope. I can't drink. I can't drink and be like, oh, forget all my woes. Mm-hmm. No, my shit intensifies. So if I was at a 2, now I'm at a 12. That shit doesn't work for me. For me, it was like, that's why I did pills. Yeah, I would take some... Numb. It would numb me. I would be like, I have that lean going on, that dope fiend lean.
Not only did you not feel anything, you didn't even know there was anything.
I didn't even know there was anything. I didn't know what was going on. I was just like,
Yep.
But it's not.
It's not funny. I shouldn't be laughing.
It's not though, because I was going through a lot in life, just like you were going through a lot in life, and a lot of people out there, you guys are going through a lot in life.
And it's hard.
We get that, and
life is hard.
We're laughing about it now because we went through that experience, and we came out better for it.
And I've found since not doing that, like you would do that stuff so that you don't have to think about what's going on in your life. Like you don't have the money to pay bills. You've got stress in your relationship, whatever the circumstances might be. So you drink, you use, or you smoke to make yourself feel better. But the reality of it is no matter how drunk you get or how messed up you get, that problem is still going to be there no matter what happens. So the best way to deal with those issues is to deal with the issues and make them go away instead of drinking or getting high and pretending that they don't exist.
Get high on pills or drugs like that. Just so we're clear, when we talk about drugs, we do not mean marijuana.
No.
We do not see marijuana as a drug. We see it as a medicational thing. I see marijuana as medicinal, and I fully think that people, if you really need medicinal help and you don't want to use alternatives like opiates and stuff like that, a non-addictive way to help yourself, whether you have PTSD or anxiety or stress, there's different strands. There's different things. There's even oils that have no THC that are just OBD and CBD.
Not that we're promoting to use marijuana legally either.
Right. But
so make sure you're in the right place doing these
right.
things.
If it's legal in your state, then by all means, do what you got to do. If it's not legal in your state, find the legal means to help yourself. They do have, like I was just saying, they have the pens that have OBD and CBD that are for medicinal use.
You can find things that you can use that are legal. Also, you can go to, I think it's like a lot of natural food stores and stuff. As a matter of fact, the Honey Shop, which is on Park Avenue in Woonsocket, the Honey Shop sells some stuff that is not marijuana. It must be
THC. It's CBD
oils.
OBD, CBD.
They have edibles. They have all kinds of stuff there that is CBD, so it's legal for you to use, that will help with stress, anxiety,
and it works.
Things like that, and it really does work.
What it does is it gives you the medicinal properties that the marijuana plant would give you, right, minus the feeling of the high.
You. Correct.
So you don't get that high feeling, like where some people, if they feel like they get high, they get paranoid.
But things feel a lot more tolerable. Your anxieties calm down, the stress calms down, and huge circumstances, hectic whatever is, your lifestyle, your bills, this, that, and the other thing, you have to get everything done today. All of that seems a little bit more tolerable.
When your anxiety is high,
Right, and I find a lot of people, they feel very anxious about their life. They feel very anxious about the situation they're in. So why not do something to help cope with that? But unfortunately, they turn to things that don't help coping. They help make it worse.
Right, because because you get rid of it temporarily doesn't mean the problem is going to go away permanently.
Correct. The only way it's going to go away is for you to deal with it. So.
Right. So if you feel that, I just want to say, if you feel that there's someone in your life that is going through something, try to talk to them, try to help them out, try to help them through it.
And if you're the person that's going through something, I guarantee you there's got to be at least one person in your life, even if they're not family, who will be there and just talk to them about it.
You can talk to me about it. I'm out here every day. Every day. I'll be out here every day. If I check my comments every day, leave a comment.
And if you don't want it public and you have something to say, you can always
inbox. You can find me anywhere. Twitter, Facebook, every forum, I'm on it. You can message me. We can talk about it. I don't need to put it out on here. We can keep it personal. You can inbox me. We can talk about it. You shouldn't have to deal with things alone if you're going through a stressful time in life and you feel the need to instead of using, use me. Inbox me. We can talk about it. I've been through a lot in life, and I can relate to a lot of things. Trust me. Don't do drugs. Just, I don't know. I'm just trying
use CBD. Yeah. And use your friends. Friends, if they're your friends, then they're there for you. And it might seem like, well, I can't talk to her because she has a lot going on in her life. I guarantee you, if you call that friend or text that friend and you tell them exactly what's going on,
they'll be there.
They'll be there. They're not going to throw you away just because they have a hectic life. I promise you, somebody will be there for you.
For real. So if you're really feeling that way, if you're doing drugs and you want to get clean, there's always a lot of people out there that will be more than willing to help you. There's hospitals. You can turn yourself into a hospital.
And they're not as scary as they seem. The people that are there because they genuinely care. Trust me, their paychecks at the end of the week, they're there because they care, not because of the money they make.
For real. And don't if you watch this and you know someone that's a drug addict and they don't want to get clean because they feel like they're going to get to the hospital and be judged. The hospital, the people that work there, they're not there to judge you. They're there to help you, okay? Even if you feel that type of way, it's just you feeling that type of way. They're not there to hurt you. They're there to help you. And
for the family of drug addicts, just remember I don't know what to say about that, but if it wasn't for my family when I was going through things, I would literally either be dead or I would probably be incarcerated and my children would be in state custody. So at the time that the family was there for me, I wasn't too appreciative of it. And I thought that they were all out to get me. And I was super paranoid and I did not like any of them. But when I look back on it now, if it hadn't been for my brothers and my aunt and my uncle, then my children would definitely be in state custody and I would definitely be dead somewhere. I mean, that's the point that I was getting to. So for the family of users, just keep trying and just love them. And if they don't want to hear what you have to say, don't put it in their face all the time. Just be there for them. Let them know that no matter what, you'll be there for them. And if they need you, that you'll be there for them. That doesn't mean that you have to give them money. It doesn't mean you have to buy them drugs. But if you can be there when they call and when they text, just don't give up on them because you never know what might be the turning point for them. So just don't give up on them.
The last thing I wanted to say about this is there is a drug helpline. If you do need help with drug abuse or drug help, give it a call. It's 1-800-591-0343. Again, if you need help, if there is a drug hotline, you can call them 24/7. They'll answer the phone. They're there to help you. 1-800-591-0343.
And those are not people that are going to rush to your home and arrest you. They're not. They'll talk to you.
They're going to talk to you.
They're there for you to talk to.
Anything else you wanted to add tonight?
I don't think so. Just think of your kids. Think of your life. Think of where you're going to be in 10 years. I overdosed 3 times before I turned 23. 3 times and almost died. It's scary at one point I was already a mother. So Damien would have been in state custody and I would have been dead. So think about your life. And
now we're both clean. We're both recovering addicts, and now we're both clean, and we both live happy, fulfilling lives, and our kids are doing great, and we couldn't be happier with life. So don't think that just because you're down in your luck right now and you're hitting the bottle, you're hitting the needle, or you're hitting the pipe, that the life is going to be like that for the rest of your life, because you can change it.
My boss actually posted something that made sense. It said, don't make permanent decisions over a temporary choice, I think is what it was. So don't rush out to get messed up over something that can just be easily fixed if you just think about it for a bit.
So if you want to talk about it, if you like what you hear, you like what you see, please comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. If you got something to say, we want to hear it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Again, just one more time, if you need help with drug addiction and you want to get clean, or you know somebody that needs help, even if you want to just call them for them and reach out and find out what you can do to help them better, call 1-800-591-0343. On that note, we're out of here. You guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. The King Jace, I'm out.